Rob Van Dam. He won 6 wrestling championship belts. That's a pretty rough sport. That guy's been injured about 14 times, broken bones, various things. Smokes marijuana every single day and for every single bout he ever had. He said you have to, because marijuana helps you zone into where you want to go. You see, the thing about marijuana, it's not about the goal. Even in life, we live in this capitalist society. I don't believe in capitalism because I read Ayn Rand 30 years ago and she changed my life. It's the big Atlas Shrugged. It's the biggest single influence of my whole life. I believe in capitalism. I believe that we should teach people to be good capitalists. We need to teach people how to make money, earn money, save money, develop capital so we can advance our revolution. That's what all these hemp stores I helped start across Canada were all about. A capitalist revolution where we earn money and support our people and support our projects. So I want us to be good capitalists. I think we can be good capitalists. I think good capitalists should run this government. We just don't have good capitalists. We have pirates. We have evil people who hate other Canadians, and they disguise themselves by calling themselves conservatives, but they're not. They're just wicked, hateful, evil people who have managed to take control of a political party that seems to dominate 32% of the voting public. And that's what it takes to get a government these days. So marijuana, though, teaches us something that capitalism is a little different. Mostly in life, it's all about goals, you know? When we get something, it's all about the goal. If we don't get our goal, it's like we failed. Oh, I want to do this and I didn't do it, and I feel so disappointed. Marijuana teaches you that's not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is the journey. Because you know what? Sometimes you're going to be disappointed. Sometimes you won't reach your goal. Sometimes you will fail in your goal. And if you don't enjoy the process by which you get to that point, then you're missing the whole purpose of life. Life isn't about achieving goals. Life is about enjoying whatever road you take to achieve whatever goal. Whether you get to the goal or not, or achieve it, you have to enjoy getting there. If you don't enjoy getting there, you are missing the whole meaning of life. Because the meaning of life is that everything has to be fun, or you're just not going to have fun. So raising kids should be lots of fun. Driving to work should be lots of fun. Having sex should be lots of fun. Getting married should be lots of fun. Working should be lots of fun. Everything you do in an endeavor should be personally satisfying and rewarding. And one of the things that pot teaches you, like for example, I think when you drive a car high on pot, you're a much better driver than any straight person out there. And there's a really good reason for that. It's because normally when you drive in a car, you go, oh fuck, I've got to be there in 10 minutes. I'm like, you know, you start taking shortcuts, zipping up, getting angry if people cut you off. Yeah, I've seen these people, I can't believe it, this road rage. But people just arguing with other cars, taking chances and risks to see, what, 10 seconds? When you're high on pot, you get in a car, you go, hey, it's awesome, man. I'm going to turn on that stereo. Ooh, that's beautiful. And you start driving, and you enjoy the drive. I'm really enjoying driving. Normally you drive, you don't consider it enjoying driving. You're just trying to get there. You got to get there. You got to get to the mall in 15 minutes before it closes. I got to get to school, or I'm going to be late, or I got to get to work, or I'm going to be penalized, right? I got to get there. I got to get there. If I don't get there on time, it's all wasted. It's all terrible. It's not fun. But when you're smoking pot and you drive, it's like, hey, I'm going the speed limit. A little bit of me says maybe you're a little paranoid, you think everybody knows you're stoned, so you're driving right? But in my experience, no one goes above the speed limit when they smoke pot. I've never seen it, never heard it. Most people become very attentive drivers, well aware they've got passengers. Taking it easy, don't pass so often, everybody goes to speed limit. You become a better driver with marijuana because you are conservative, thoughtful, and not in a rush. You're enjoying the process. I'll get there when I get there, is what you're saying. Now, a lot of times teachers complain about that kind of attitude. Oh, that's kind of laid-back attitude's not going to help you, right? Teachers, and you'll become a better parent if you smoke pot. I remember when I used to get home and I was caught up home, my neighbors and I raised boys, and they would want to jump on me and tussle and fight me and wrestle and stuff like kids do. For like only about half an hour to 40 minutes, nobody's kids want to spend all their time with their parents. That's really cool. But most times your kids want to spend at least some part of every day with you doing fun stuff. Whether it's a sport, running around, crazy stuff, joking, whatever. My kids just want to just jump. You know, we roll around and do stuff like that, and throw pillows and stuff like that. And then they would like do their thing. But sometimes I wasn't really into that when I got home. I wanted to think about my things, I had my life going on, and all this stuff I want to do when I get home. But if I smoked a joint before I walked through the front door because I knew they were there, and I'd be ready to do whatever they wanted to do, I would go that road. I would do whatever it is just because that's the process. That's what we're doing right now. I'm doing with my kids. So it allowed me to get away from my work stuff, change my focus into what you're doing right now. And I think you become a better lover when you smoke pot. I think you're a better parent, you're a better driver, you're a better businessman. You know, it gets you to put yourself in other people's shoes. It allows you to empathize. Pot allows you to think, well, maybe what would it be like to be you? You know, and I have a special particular insight because I've been in lots of jails, so I see a lot of people who didn't grow up like me.
Right? Like, I had a wonderful childhood. I had two loving parents. They were always there. In my day, nobody had any money, but that was normal back in the 60s. But I had two parents that one mother was always home, and my dad came home like clockwork every night at 5 o'clock. And he threw the baseball to me for half hour, shot a hockey puck to me, and I felt loved, validated, and wanted, so that when I was 16, I felt like I was ready to go out and leave, get a job, and leave home. Much to my parents' surprise, because they'd so well prepared me. They'd just given me all that love and affection and attention. Told me, Mark, here, my dad, who was one of 11 children, very poor in the ghettos of Birmingham, England during the Depression. I mean, he joined the Navy to go to war to simply escape his bad environment, right? Very difficult life. And all his life, he said, Mark, you're going places. You're going to do what I never did. You're going to see things I could never see. You're going to go play that. And I go, well, Dad, you're an awesome guy. You're the greatest. Why would I want to be different from you? He said, well, I don't mean that, son. I just mean that you're going to get the opportunity I didn't get. You know, and those were important things to him. And hearing him say that that was waiting for me out there, a world, whatever it is I wanted, it was waiting out there. And he moved to Canada because he grew up in a working class environment. He said, I never want your son to be discriminated against like that. I never want people to think you're a working man's son. And so he moved to Canada and he raised us. I never saw him raise his voice to my mother in my life. I never saw him strike her. And that's why I shouldn't be emotional. That's why when people say, are you frightened about going to jail? No. No, I'm not frightened about going to jail. It's just 4 years. It's just a physical being. Whatever happens to me physically is irrelevant. Because my legacy is secure. Because I had two wonderful parents who gave me everything they could give me. And I've had a wonderful life. So going to jail for 4 years on behalf of my people is not actually a big burden. It's not actually a big sacrifice. I consider it an honor because I've had such a wonderful life and been blessed by so much. So I want to let you know. Favor to ask you. Because up till recently, now people might think this is why there's only a conservative. Up till recently, any Canadian convicted in a US jail got an automatic transfer to a Canadian jail, where Canadian sentencing principles would take effect. And this was the standard for 30, 40 years, up until the Conservative government came into power. Now the Conservative governments are refusing all and any transfers from Canadians in US jails. And you know, maybe if you want to be vindictive, if a guy murders somebody, you think that. But recently, a guy who just smuggled some weed to the United States has had to sue the federal government to get me brought back to Canada because the Conservative government has stopped all prison transfers. So I need to do something that they have never done. I need to break the Conservative government with a bombardment of unprecedented proportions when I get sentenced to US federal prison. And I'll be patient, it's not like I expect miracles. But we have got to get 1 million Canadians to bombard members of parliament to say, you bring Marc Emery back or else. Bring him back or else. So you'll have no idea how furious people will be if you don't bring him back. You don't understand how important he is to our movement. Or any number of things you want to tell them. Tell them the truth, please. Don't tell them anything else. But make sure they understand that I should be brought back to a Canadian prison. And the reason for that mostly is so my wife can see me. It's not likely she's going to see me in the American prison. I will say this. Canadian jails are very professional. I've seen plenty of them. I think 17 jails, and they were all different. And I have a very good opinion of Canadian workers in jail. I'm amazed, really. When I was in Saskatoon Correctional, I had many epiphanies. To me, going to jail was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I talked to Tommy Chung a lot about this too. He went to jail 9 months in a U.S. prison for selling bombs. He didn't actually even sell bombs. His son had a bomb manufacturing firm, and he got entrapped. And it's actually in a wonderful movie called AKA Tommy Chung, which is a lot better than you think it will be. And you should watch that movie. That's a great movie. But he went to jail for 9 months just for being involved in the bomb business. Right? 9 months in a jail. Like a man that's 70 years old. You're putting him because he's bombing. How cruel is that, right? But see, that's what it's all about. Government's all about cruelty. There's no subtlety or nuance to that. But I'll be in some jail, and I'll be proud to be there, to be who I am, to represent the people I want to represent. And I have a much more important task. You know, it's nice if you do get me transferred back to a Canadian jail. I would appreciate that. That would be nice. Jody will greatly appreciate it. It will hasten my entry back into the normal world, because after, on a 5-year sentence in the United States, if I got transferred back to Canada, I could get full day parole in about 2 years. And be back into the world. Well, I can deal with it a couple of years. I can even deal with 4 years. In fact, a 5-year sentence, when I would get out of the United States, it would be 4 years and 2 months, 85% of your sentence if you're of good behavior, right? And so I would get out eventually, and I would still be like reasonably healthy, I hope. And so I'm not like really worried about it. The reason I accepted this deal, by the way, is I am pleading guilty. It's because the alternative would be to go till next year when they actually extradite me. And the government of Canada, especially under Stephen Harper, is an absolute certain lock. to extradite me, because no government in Canada for the last 100 years has ever said no to the United States in regards to an extradition. We say no to China, because China's a dictatorship, and we'll say no to Thailand, but we'll never say no to the United States, even though they torture, and there are prisons, they have more prisoners in their jails than any other place on earth. And even though they're the most warmongering nation in the history of the planet, right? They've got bases on 140 countries in the world, they've invaded over 100 places in the last year, but they're a democracy. They're not a rogue government like some days. Not a rogue government. So the government of Canada never refuses an extradition request from the United States ever. And my lawyer said, Mark, I've never seen it. And he's the best extradition lawyer in this country. I've never seen it. And the lawyer really likes me. He's charged me next to nothing for 4 years. He's literally survived, and whatever people donated to him, he just took that. I don't think I've given him more than $20,000 from my lawyer in the last 4 years, and that's a deal of a lifetime to have one of the best lawyers ever. But the bottom line is, Mark, I won't go to court with you because we don't have a winning argument. Even though Karen Kennedy and the DEA said clearly that it's all political, even though the only reason this is happening is because you insulted the drug czar personally for like an hour when he gave a speech to Vancouver and it was all recorded, right? These are all the reasons that I'm being sought out. What did I do? I sold seeds. There's not even any drug quality seeds. There's no THC in them. You can buy barrels of the same kind of seeds and grow hemp here, and the seeds are identical in every genetic way. Right? Except I just sold them saying they were good for marijuana. And that's my crime. You see, it's all about telling the truth. You're going to find that the greatest crime is always about telling the truth. Because, for example, the government we have tells nothing but lies. It's all lies. And they are rewarded. Truth tellers are punished. You know, because unfortunately, many people want a soothsayer. Someone to tell them the sweet little lies they already believe in. We often elect people who have the same bigotries we do. We want someone who's a mirror image of our own immaturities and our own foibles and our own mistakes and our own hatreds and bigotries. That's what we tend to vote for. We don't tend to vote for the enlightened person if we're not enlightened. We tend to vote for people who are going to behave just like us. So the fact that we have a government of liars, we've had a government of liars for decades, means that we have a large number of people in the public who also believe in the same lies. And that's what people want. They want a soothsayer. Because let me tell you, truth tellers are unpopular. You know, the truth about the war is unpopular. The truth about our environmental degradation, especially in this province and others, is just that. It's cataclysmic. Where our economic situation is cataclysmic. All we get are lies. We don't get any truth. We don't get solutions. We don't get improvement. The only improvement comes from individuals. You know what's improved in the last 20 years? Technology. Although, by the way, that's another thing that might kill you too, is those cell phones that scramble your brains over 5 years. So that's legal, that'll kill you too, right? But I mean, technology is the only thing in our favor that's allowed us to fight back. The internet's allowed us to organize. Cell phones allow us to have rallies quickly and rapidly. If one of our friends gets busted, we can call others for a support rally right away. We can be on the internet with videotape of police brutality. I've seen so many of my friends pepper sprayed. I've seen so many people tasered. But fortunately, because of YouTube and because everybody's got a cell phone camera, and cameras generally, and technology all over, the police can no longer operate with that veil of darkness and secrecy that imagine. If you didn't see it on video, you would not believe most things people tell you police do. You would not believe they tasered a man 5 times at an airport who was merely helping. You would not believe they tasered a mentally handicapped person in Nova Scotia who was 55. And the cops are the biggest cowards to ever walk the earth. They are had a truncheon and big boots, and that was it. Now they got a Kevlar jacket an inch thick that you couldn't send a bazooka through. They've got pepper spray, a truncheon, a radio thing, a gun, and they've got a tasering device. They're walking around like they're in fucking Vietnam, for God's sake, and they're patrolling our streets where if we didn't have prohibition, nobody's ever died. And you know what? Don't let them tell you that being a police officer is hazardous. It isn't. It isn't even in the top 50 most hazardous occupations. The #1 most hazardous occupation is working in the forest. Over 100 lumbermen were killed last year in BC's forest. 100 people died. I mean, that's a higher rate than are dying in Afghanistan. We give a big, massive funeral to those guys every time they die in Afghanistan. Maybe we should. But 100 people last year died in the British Columbia forest. I haven't heard anybody have a special ceremony for that, or a crime, or, oh, they gave their lives. Or so, yeah, these guys gave their lives so we can all live in houses. Every house I've ever seen's got a wooden infrastructure. These guys, they died so you could live in a nice house. I don't know what those guys in Afghanistan died for, but at least the guys in the forest died so you could live comfortably. And the second most hazardous thing is being a fisherman. So you can eat. That is the second most dangerous job on earth, is being a fisherman. And the third one is an electrical systems installer. Guys who hook up power, they get electrocuted a lot.